You remember that bit of a bombshell that dropped a few days ago regarding the future of LIV Golf? And you thought to yourself, who is this guy at Monday Q Info that has this connection and is is making these claims? Well, the guy's in Northern Michigan. We've had him on the podcast before. Ryan French started Monday Q Info a few years ago, and you talk about explosive growth. This would be a great example of exactly that. And Ryan is not, I'm just going to, by way of introduction, Ryan, let me just ramble for a second. Ryan's not in this for clickbait. This is not somebody who's throwing out trial balloons. There are plenty of accounts on social media that exist solely for the purpose of getting you to click on them, even though there's nothing there behind the curtain. And so when Ryan puts something out, it's with a great deal of research and homework and sources and confidence. And that's what leads us to our discussion here as we pull back the curtain on the last week in your life, Ryan French. What has it been like in the crosshairs of the live bots and in the world of golf that just has to find fault with something at all times?
Yeah, I said it, but first of all, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I said it in a newsletter I just finished before I came on. Is like I knew it would be big, and I thought I was prepared, but I was not prepared. I was not prepared. No. Yeah, I mean, uh, I took from the reporting standpoint, I was still in. Time has proven that I was right. Uh, uh, it was I wouldn't have put it out if I wasn't as sure as you can be.
Yeah.
The caveat is, and Bill, this is that one person, MBS, could make my reporting look wrong. I could put it out and he could change his mind an hour later and Liv could go on for it and he could still do that. It wouldn't change the fact that my reporting is right at this point now, but it would, Liv could go on forever. As long as MBS wants it to. It seems like he's had enough of it. Um, but yeah, I knew it was big, but I wasn't prepared. I also knew I'd worked hard to make sure I was right.
Well, and that's what a reporter does. And it's funny because I don't really think that you would necessarily consider yourself a news breaking type of media presence. You're dealing in the world of qualifiers and protection of those who are trying to make a career of this game. That's really what Monday Q Info was built on. What led you to even enter this kind of sector, which is, news breaking about the future of that league?
Yeah, I mean, after I got it, Bill, the last 3 hours maybe of the day was talking with my business partner, Mark Baldwin, who's a pro golfer, and then people that I trust inside and outside of the business of like, uh, is this what we want to do? Uh, I will always be, said that on Golf Channel this morning, 98% of what I do will always be about the people I cover. Um, and I'm not trying to pretend like me breaking news is different from what I normally do. I will say that PIF has funded the Asian tour, which has been it, the best part of Live, in my opinion, because they helped a lot of players that I report on. Their investment in that has kept players' careers going. So, but I'll never get away from that. That being said, I knew it was big, and I knew I was right. So, uh, but yeah, there was a lot of discussion about whether this is what we wanted to be, and uh, if you would have asked me at points in the last 72 hours, I probably would have said no. But not because I didn't think I was right, just because of the of blowback
Well,
online. But
yeah, let's talk blowback for a minute. I want people to understand what it's like when you're in the crosshairs for even a concentrated, shorter amount of time from what I really do believe is a relatively small number of people with multiple accounts. I really do. Maybe they're fake account, maybe they're bots, maybe they're actual people who just have 12 burner, whatever it is. Uh, there's no way in a logical world, and I know at times we aren't in a logical world, but there's really no way to explain why anybody would take their umbrage or their disagreement into the world of violent, profane, hostile reactions online, as opposed to saying, "Oh, that's not correct. You're wrong. There's no way that's going to happen." I mean, it's f-bomb this, it's f-bomb. They're calling you every name in the book. There's no way that normal people who would have a face on their identification on the Twitter or whatever it is, there's no way normal people would do this. So,
And yeah, and I think, Bill, for me, it's and I say this all the time, Bill, is like sadly I've gotten used to it, right? Like I've gotten better at it. That's because I've gotten used to it. This was a next level, and I would love to talk to people who somehow let this stuff roll off their back because it's just I don't know. It's for me, it's impossible. Again, I look past a lot of it, but you called an a-hole 1,000 times. You're like, dude, like enough already. I've had enough. Like I just reported a golf story, but again, I knew there would be some blowback. I don't mind. There's a couple of accounts that are very pro-live that were like, hey, I don't agree with you. Uh, and they were reasonable about it. There's a large portion that were unreasonable, and those are the loudest. I got support from people in the journalism world, golf world, tons and tons of calls and text messages. It's impossible for me. I hope there's a way one day to do it to be to block out uh, the loud minority. I don't know how people do it. So yeah, it's been a long couple of days, but uh, never in those couple of days did the conversation was like, is this really what I wanted to do?
right, right.
Not like I've put out the wrong stuff. I knew that I'd done my homework.
Yeah. A few months ago, when I had my moment in the live crosshairs, it wasn't nearly to the extent. I mean, your story has gone global. Mine was kind of national. But I began to invite the most profane of the critics to come on the podcast with me. And I know
That's
you'll
a
be
good idea.
shocked.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know you'll be shocked and you're sitting down that none of them accepted that
yeah,
invitation. So that's
yeah.
because they're not actual people and they have
Right.
no actual spines. Having said all of that, let's for the listener who is maybe a little bit behind the times and not up to speed on what exactly it was you put out that started this whole avalanche coming down the hill. A little tiny snowball begins, and all of a sudden, an entire town is wiped out. Right? That's how the avalanche goes.
Yeah,
What was the tweet you put out that got all this
yeah.
started?
Yeah, I put out that there was a bombshell imminent announcement uh, about the future of Live. And, again, uh, I had worked multiple sources. I got a phone call out of the blue that Liv was in trouble. That led to 50 phone calls. I don't know how many. I was on the phone all day
Yeah,
uh, from people not associated with this person to see what I knew. And I've said it many times, Bill. There's plenty of people that I called inside of Liv. They're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Maybe because they didn't know what the hell I was talking about, or maybe they didn't want me to know.
right.
Both, probably some of both. Um, but then I talked to enough people that I was like, okay, I have what it is. And I obviously I knew it was funding, but I don't I don't know enough politically to know PIF and all of those things. Obviously I knew it was funding. I assumed that you just got tired of wasting money and that was it. That is it, but also come out from many news organizations that PIF has decided to stop funding multiple sports. They've sold the soccer team. They got out of Tom Brady's flag football operation. It seems they're getting out of Live. Uh, CEO of Live has confirmed it, and that was the imminent announcement. And I think that the one thing that I would say differently is Live as we know it is dead. Is there a way that Live survives as a part of the Asian tour or a part of the DP World Tour or uh, uh, Bryson buys it and it's a YouTube tour. I don't like do Ram and Bryson buy. I don't know. Like the live as we know it is dead.
Right.
Uh, there's no private equity that's going to fund an operation that's losing billions. It's just not happening. It's just not happening. So uh, the live we know is gone. Uh, Again, barring the change that Yasser comes out tomorrow and says, "Okay, we're back in."
Well, yeah, and that's kind of the point that I've been making, which is they're not really out of money, they're out of patience. That's a very big
Right.
difference, right? It's just
Yeah.
the money is endless. That doesn't matter to them in the least. And at the same time, at some point, you become aware of your investments not delivering the return. And so you do, I understand that the tournament drew 100,000 people in Australia. I get it.
Mhm.
But it was watched by about 40,000 people in America. And
Yeah.
you are welcome to invest billions of dollars to reach the Australian market, and more power to you, but that's not the same thing. There's a reason that Madison Avenue is located in America. This is where the decisions and the differences and the marketing is all, this is the hub of it. You don't have to like that, but that's the reality of it all. And
And
so,
that's, I mean, and to be fair, like, sorry to interrupt you, Bill, but Scott O'Neill also admitted that in
yeah,
interviews in the last few days,
yeah, I,
and then admitted that he wouldn't be here. Like they were likely at the very least, again, back to live as we know it. It seems like even if it was to survive, it's not going to be in the United States.
well, you brought up the name of the current leader of the tour, of the league, I should say. They went from the frying pan of Greg Norman into the fire with Scott O'Neill. The reality is, this guy gives a press conference where he literally proves all the things people have been saying, which contradict what the players were promised. You don't have to travel as much. You get to stay home more. You don't have to play as often. What does he say last week in his interview with TNT Europe? Hey, if you don't like to travel a lot, this is not the place for you. If you think you're going to play in America, this is not the place for you. And you're like, dude, do you hear yourself, including, which I think is the coup de grace on all of this, where he says, yeah, we're funded through the end of this season. And after that, we're gonna have to find some money out there. So they post that interview, the whole thing, and that after it gets all the blowback, probably from the players in Mexico getting ready to tee it up, as it gets all the blowback, magically that interview's pulled down. It's edited with all the grace of a fourth grade video production class and then reposted just without that sentence in the middle of it. Ryan, I wish I was making this stuff up. This is
I
literally how it happened.
I agree, and also again, think as a leader, Bill. It's like I just made this reference. Mark and I just recorded a podcast and got a deep dive on this, but it's like as a leader in when times are tough, like you at the very least, according to the Athletic, they found out on the Sunday of the Masters that funding was going to be done. At the very least, you jump on a Zoom with Rom and Bryson, who are the two people driving this whole thing, and go, "Hey guys, here's the reality of the situation. Now we're gonna try our best." And you put on the leader, like, go get them, right? Like, you, they let Sergio march out there on Wednesday. It's not Sergio's fault, right? Like, I'm not a Sergio fan, but like, it's not his fault that he went out there. Someone asked him the question, and he said, "As far as I know, it's 2032."
Right.
Like, the
Right.
fact that he was allowed to go out there with the wrong information, wasn't told, whatever the case is, like that's as much a sign of leadership as the interview. The edited interview is a joke, but like the fact that again, if I was like, oh, we lost our biggest sponsor, and then Mark finds out from someone else, like who am I? Like I would call Mark and go like, hey, this like here's the reality of it. Like again, I don't think it's that big a deal. It's a huge deal for Liv. I'm saying the fact that they lost it, okay, go tell the two best players that that's the reality situation, and here's what we're going to do about it. It might be a bunch of crap that will never get done. We know the reality of it, but like as a leader, you're just like to do nothing until 19 news organizations or whatever report on it is just not the play. And then obviously the
Well,
interviews ridiculous. And then again, uh, I, the Athletic had a great line in there today. Is like every Scott, Arlo White, all those guys attack the media. That's fine. They all say unnamed sources. didn't dispute a single thing that was reported. And then Brody Miller from The Athletic today said that no one from Live would go on the record. Uh, Quite ironic that the people who don't want unnamed sources
Of course. Yeah. And
won't go on the record.
however, it is it's impossible to write a better reflection of how the Saudis do business than what we're seeing play out on the golf stage through their golf league. Secrecy, dishonesty, harshly rash decisions, and the communication that just doesn't take place, which leads to this scene in Mexico City in the middle of the putting green of Bryson and John Rahm having a pretty lengthy conversation. One would have to surmise, unless you had a shotgun mic off to the side, that they were talking about the future of the league that they're being asked to go and play in, and players wondering, are we going to get paid? By the way, I would guess there are a few tournament venues wondering the same thing. And so there have been various statements made that, oh no, you're good to go here and here. And the league championship takes place in Michigan in August. That's where my whole thing blew up last year. If I were at St. John's Resort, I would probably be wondering, hey, can we do some cash in advance here? Because the after the event billing probably not going to work all that well, given that your CEO has already said through the end of 26, which is the end of August. Where, what do you see as the next shoe to drop here? Is it a cancellation shoe or is it a buttressing up of finances shoe?
Yeah, I don't know. Yesterday, I very much gave Bryson, and I don't have any reason to believe that that's not totally true to this day or today. His withdrawal was just giving him the benefit of the doubt. Everybody obviously started to make
He had
their
a
own.
wrist issue, I believe was the word.
Yeah.
Wrist issue.
And so now, with today's uh, report from the Athletic that Mexico is very much in the balance, that they didn't know they even had, there was rumblings that the funding was just done and Mexico wouldn't go on. It said it was minimized. I have a screenshot of uh, Live employees, a conversation that Live uh, insiders have, and it it said this isn't day by day, it's hour by hour.
Yeah.
And so I I again, would I be shocked if they said they're not going to Virginia? No. Would I be shocked if they finish a year? No. But I think this is going to be a day by day thing, right? Like tomorrow, like no one would be surprised if Bryson said, "I'm done," and no one would be surprised if he didn't say anything. So I don't think there's any. I don't think we know. Besides live as we know it, they're going to have to change drastically in order to survive, whatever that means. They go to just Australia. They just go to South Africa and Australia. They go to Fort. They roll into the DP. They roll into the Asian. No idea. Uh, I do know
So,
that live as we know it is probably gone.
yeah. So now let's put ourselves in the chair of one of the tournament venues on their schedule still to come, whether it's the end of the season in Michigan or whether it's, Chicago, wherever it happens to be. Um, when Liv comes in to do a tournament, just so everybody's aware, they buy the whole place. They basically become the landlords of the property. They take over all of the hospitality, the course setup. They're the ones responsible for building all of the chalets or the VIP tents and the staging and all of those things. They own all the tee times for a couple of weeks, everything. So that's standard. That's not just for them. That's standard for the tour. That's standard for everybody. They're also, by the way, responsible for the cleanup afterwards. That's all part of the contract, is you have to return this property, this course and its surrounding grounds to the state in which you found it. That happens across all tours. If I'm a tournament venue in May, June, July, August, I'm going to have to get my money up front because I'm already turning away all of the business that would come during normal operating times in peak season. So if I'm the great team at St. John's Resort in Plymouth, and they're the home of the Cardinal and just a wonderful setting. They are not able to book tee times today for that window in August when LIV takes over. That's turning away a lot of revenue in a time of uncertainty as to whether or not the contract is going to be fulfilled. Right. So, Ryan, as you said, you wouldn't be surprised if it went either way, if it just dropped tomorrow or if it went all the way through. How do you operate if you
Yeah,
are the general manager of a destination that is scheduled to host one of these tournaments?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah, I think to your point, Bill, I think, yeah, I would have to have some reassurances, whatever that is.
It's not like you're going to take the
Dollars.
Saudis to court. You're not,
Yeah,
come on.
right.
Judge Judy's not going to hear this case.
Yeah, 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 exactly. I would need some reassurances that we would be okay financially, whether that's change the deposit down or whatever. Yeah, it would need to change.
All right. So some of the conversations that you're having with some of your contacts inside the world of LIV, and I don't profess to have any inside the world of LIV. Are you getting any indication as to whether or not Bryson or Rahm are just done? They're going to start
No,
what they hope to be the 1 year clock, like Brooks had.
no, ironically, I just got a call. That's what I got distracted about from someone that I know inside of Live. So uh I told them I'd call back. But no, I have nothing solid that says either one of them has done anything to, be that's say that they're done or not. Now, I would say that both, this is just me talking, their silence has been pretty deafening over the last 4 or 5 days. Bryson hasn't posted anything on socials. He, according to Brody, talked to, bailed on a scheduled interview, which is fine. Like, listen, Bryson has a lot of issues, but he's
Rahm
usually
just
good with
Rahm
fans.
just won, and we haven't heard
Yeah,
from him.
yeah, and Rom obviously just is dealing with. Now, again, it's part of the issue of Live in general is media doesn't care enough to go down there, so there's only Live media there. So
True.
to be fair, they're not going to ask him anything difficult.
Yeah.
So, uh, but obviously, I'm sure he made it clear he didn't want to answer anything about that. And so, um, yeah, I've heard nothing. I think their silence has been pretty loud. Uh, and to be fair to them, I don't know if they did for or against. I don't think they have answers, right? Like
Yeah.
they could be getting again. Bryson could be buying the whole league tomorrow. And Rom and him could be have been discussing. And this is just guess. I've heard nothing like this. I'm just throwing out options. Like they have enough money to buy it. And turn it into whatever they want to turn it into. YouTube, I don't know. So um, I don't think their silence has been loud. That being said, I'm not sure what they would say that would convince anyone
Yeah.
differently.
And that's largely born of the historic distrust that's been built between the things they've said and the things that have come
Yeah,
to reality. That's just,
yeah,
that's just part of losing credibility. It's awfully hard to claim the high ground at a time when you need credibility. So if I'm a VC firm, if I'm some investor who's being approached about being the next sugar daddy for Live Golf, I've got to I've got to be able to trust the people asking me to invest, and I don't really see that that's the case right now. So, well, it's a fluid story. And before I let you go, and I know that your phone's going, it's still blowing up on you. Last question: is there anything that you would do differently if you had a chance to do it all over again?
I would be a little like I I went on a show called The Takesman, which I love. And it's usually like 25 of us, and we just talk crap. Like I would have been a little more measured in what I said, only because I don't care. What I mean is, but I don't care about the golfers in Live. I mean, from a financial standpoint, they're going to be just fine.
Yeah,
Even Lasasso, who just went over there's, made $800,000 in 7 events, right? And assuming he's got paid for everything, whatever, like they're all fine. but there's people's livelihoods at stake that aren't that I was I joked and it's like get near your phone and like there's people's livelihoods at stake. And that that's the one thing I would have changed. Like it's that gave fuel to people, to say stuff that it is. And yeah, that's what I would have done differently. Uh I was right. I researched it well. I was confident. I would never I I feel for people who are not involved in the golf, the vendors of the world, the hourly employees of Live Golf, the cameramen who didn't take a job because it was Saudis or this or that or a rival league. They just want a damn job. And so those people, it sucks. This is how they make their living. So that's what I would have done differently. Will next time be more measured in what I say. The rest of the noise on in the internet, I have to learn is just noise. People who are in the know that I'd done it right. And so that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Learning experience for all of us. My wife, my wife, who I've told many times, and my mother, I was like, okay, just don't pick up your phone. Just don't go on social media. That's just a no Twitter for a few days type rule. So
On the upside,
it's all good.
if people really knew where the global headquarters of Monday Info was, they'll never find you. So you're good
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's like even the Saudis would be like, that's too far.
Yeah,
That's just
we're
we're not going in there. I gotta fly into Detroit and then
drive all the way.
drive 4 hours. No, I just
All right, man. Well, keep up the good fight, and I know it's a fluid situation, so we'll keep an eye on things as well, and let's touch base again if there are some major developments. And I appreciate you kind of peeling back the curtain for us a bit.
thanks so much. Appreciate you having me on, Bill.